Teachers have read it. What is the weirdest thing a student has ever put on their Get to Know Me paper from the beginning of the school year? Story 1. I teach primary, so it usually ends up being an impossible career goal. When I grow up, I want to be a mermaid. When I grow up, I want to be a tree. When I grow up, I want to be a dinosaur. That kind of thing. You usually get at least one or two a year in the early grades. I would have thought this is a no-brainer to figure out. A kid who says he wants to be a tree, what about a career in forestry or sustainable technologies? A kid who wants to be a mermaid, well, what kind of careers are ocean-based? Working on a cruise ship, working in marine wildlife, etc. As for a dinosaur, what are the attributes of a dino? Strength, fearlessness, and so on. Easy to work with. Story 2. Not a get to know me paper, but this went down. In one of my adult English classes a few years ago in Japan, a new student joined. So I asked her to introduce herself. So, what's your name? Mariko. Nice to meet you, Mariko. Please tell me about something you like. I really like the band Queen. Great. What about something you don't like? Americans. Really? Why not? Well, America created the HIV virus that killed Freddie Mercury. Okay, moving on. Story 3. I was student teaching in a 4th grade classroom, and the student I was working with had a disability. So we filled it out an interview type way. He just said no for every question, except that his favorite animal is a donkey, which, weirdly enough, happens to be my favorite animal. Perhaps he's a mind-reading psychic genius kid? Never underestimate anyone despite outer appearances. Story 4. Question. What's something great you've learned in school? Answer. One great thing I learned in school was how to slap boys. From a young lady whose presence in my class I came to very much appreciate when I was teaching at school, that was little more than a holding facility for kids with major disciplinary issues. Tomorrow is the start of a new school year at a much less entertaining school, and I have 92 to get to know you surveys sitting in my teacher bag. Story 5. I am sort of a dick sometimes. My daughter is in grade 2. At that age, they bring the questionnaire form home and fill it out. Under the section, Other Things You Think We Should Know, I couldn't resist. 'Cause lately, I'm hooked on storytelling. I wrote, if she stands up in class like she's in a trance, points at you and says in a monotone, they are coming for you. It's much more likely she's doing it for comedic effect than that she's actually in touch with aliens. Have a great year. They have been warned. Story 6. I'm one of those who put something when I was in college many years ago. I had a course where my prof was a bohemian writer, smoking in class. He wouldn't take attendance, so only a couple of people went to each class. He would give me high grades, but he still wouldn't give me the maximum for papers despite being there each class. So I told him this, and he was like, well, I have a hard time remembering names. So the next assignment also included my photo. He found it very funny, got full credit, missed those classes. Sounds like your prof had some serious issues, or just didn't really give a damn. Story 7. What do you want to be when you grow up? Green Mario. No, not Luigi. Mario, but palette swapping green. It was the only character he would willingly play during Super Smash Bros. He didn't know how to play, so he basically just threw Green Mario off the side of the stage repeatedly. There was one time that I had a substitute and he tried to give him the controller to play Luigi, misunderstanding Green Mario for Luigi. It was not a fun day for anyone, apparently. I had to start leaving lists, and when I left, it was one of the things I made sure to remind my replacement of. Green Mario Man, not Luigi, Green Mario. Story 8. The daughter of Alan Shepard, the astronaut, used to live near me. She shared an anecdote once that when her son was in elementary school, they did one of those surveys, and he was like, "My grandpa was the first American in space and also went to the moon." The teacher called her to tell her to stop spreading bullshit, and she had to explain that no, it's actually true. Don't you just love the kids of famous people? LOL. Story 9. I had a lot of art classes in high school, and my school's art department was pretty small, consisting of only 3 teachers. By my last year, I knew 2 of the teachers quite well and was sort of friendly with them. But administration said we still had to fill out the same student info forms for every teacher at the start of every new semester regardless. Stuff like name and address, phone number, parents' names, language spoken at home, and so on. By my senior year, I'd fill these same forms out at least 5 times for those 2 art teachers. So I just started writing stupid shit. Name, Zulu, Queen of the Dandelion People. Address, 10 Downing Street, City of Westminster, London. Father's name, Anonymous Donor, number 20593. Language spoken at home, Pig Latin. The teachers had a good sense of humor about it. One addressed me in Pig Latin and called me Zulu the entire first week. Story 10. I did one of those Identi-Kid things when I was 6, 7, and the last of it was a video interview where they ask you questions about yourself. I was a huge tomboy and had a short haircut and was wearing a Batman shirt and carrying a Batman action figure. At first, they started with identifying questions. What's your name? Gay cryptid. How old are you? 6, 7. Where were you born? Redacted. Georgia. Then they started asking my likes and dislikes. Favorite song? Lion King's song. Favorite movie? Lion King. Then that's where things went downhill. Favorite color? Blue. Blue? Aw, you don't like blue. What about pink or purple? I like blue. Well, what's your favorite cartoon character? Batman. Duh. You don't like any princesses or anything? What about Ariel? Batman. At this point, I was pissed and didn't understand why he kept saying my answers were on, and something in me snapped. Favorite food? Batman. What about hot dogs or pizza? Batman. Okay, favorite subject at school? Batman. Favorite sport? Batman. Nervous laugh. You can't answer Batman to everything. Batman. At that point, my mom intervened, and we concluded the interview portion. As we left the Blockbuster this whole thing was being hosted at, I remember getting one last look at the guy, and when he turned and caught my eye, I silently raised my Batman action figure at him as if to say, Batman, one last time. Love it. I'm female, and when I was a kid, I loved drawing dragons and T-Rexes. I played with toy cars and plastic farm animals, hated dolls, and I wrote ghost stories. Wonder what those Identi-Kid interviewers would make of that. Story 11. My son's class was asked to stand up and say 3 things about themselves. 2 true and 1 false. My son said he likes the color purple, is a Jedi Master, and can fly. His new teacher pointed out that it was supposed to be 2 true and 1 false. And my boy said, "But I'm a Jedi Master." Kids laughed, and the teacher remembered him. Story 12. Not a teacher, but here's a story from my high school. A group in English class had to write an application letter for a job at a kid's summer camp, stating what their strengths are and why they are the right person for the job. One kid wrote that he was perfect for the job because his genitals were at the same height as the children's mouths. He got expelled. Story 13. That they found a dead body once. The funniest thing about it was the mom had put a statement on her part of the things you should know about my child part, which was submitted electronically, to say she wasn't lying. But the mom had run out of the characters, just as she said, we were sat around the table saying, it was a what? It was a what? So we had to email the mom about her to clarify. Turns out she was saying it was a horrific situation that she has had counseling for, but I just wanted to let you know that she's not lying if she mentions it. This girl had found a naked dead guy in a river whilst on a litter pick. And yeah, she did mention it a few times. Poor guy. No wonder she was traumatized. Story 14. I'm in college, so naturally those get to know you questionnaires are pointless because I'm ready to jump in and get into some hardcore work. But no, we had to answer questions in a political science course. Here are the questions and my answers. What's your favorite food? A child's tears. Where do you work? I had a job, but now I just disappoint my parents for my full-time employment. The benefits are great. Is there any particular part of government that fascinates you? Yes, the people elected. I mean, have you seen the results of 2016? Then I answered the questions in a serious manner. It gets old answering everything in a sarcastic manner. Story 15. When I was 7, we had to write a questionnaire about ourselves for our new teacher. I wrote that I was very hard to persuade without a real understanding of what the word meant. But it was my favorite skill to upgrade when I played KOTOR. Story 16. Not a teacher, but as a student, I like to with my teachers by writing batshit and saying stuff on my get to know me worksheets. Like, for example, this year, I told my aerospace science teacher that my favorite pastime was playing Nipal Glungus with my friends. Story 17. Not a teacher, but a student who was in a class with someone who would apply to this. This was in primary school. The teacher handed out strips of paper and asked everyone to write down one thing about themselves, so we could all get to know each other a little better. Generally, everyone wrote their name and their favorite hobby, but this one kid wrote, "My brother died a month ago and I killed the dog." I'm still unsure if those two things are correlated, but needless to say, the teacher was in shock to hear that. Sounds like you had a psycho kid in your class, or he likes messing with people to get attention. Story 18. Not a teacher, but was a teaching assistant trying to delay them as I set up my computer and eat a snack bag. I make them share their major, hometown, and one interesting fact about themselves. First guy says he has a third nipple and shows the whole class and asks if any girl wants to touch it. This was university, mind you. He's in my major and he'll forever be third nipple guy. Story 19. My older brother told me about a paper like this that he had to write. He went on and on about how he got this new bike over the summer and how awesome it was and all the adventures he went on, but one day he left it out on the front porch and someone stole it. Then his best friend wrote about how many walks he went on over the summer until he saw a bike laying out on the front porch and decided to take it. I never found out if they were questioned by the teacher. Story 20. So in this case, I was actually the student. Back in elementary school, we were given an art assignment to draw things that represent us. I don't remember why I did this, outside of maybe too active an imagination, but one of the things I drew involved people being drowned in lava from an erupting volcano while I sniped them from an attack helicopter. Obviously, I ended up getting called into the counselor's office a few days later for that one. Time to mess with the counselors' heads. Sometimes you just have to have fun with these people. Story 21. Not a teacher. I was a youth counselor in a Jewish youth movement. I had an 8-year-old Jewish kid who wrote something like this regarding this question. I love the Holocaust. Can you teach us about that in a fun way, please? Apparently, the kid's grandfather was a camp survivor and kept telling his grandchildren that they are still too young to know details about the Holocaust, but they should never forget. This was exciting for the kid, I suppose, because he thought it was like a secret that only a few knew about. A very delicate situation that's best explained by the parents, grandfather, at a later stage. Story 22. Man, in 2nd grade, we had to color a stocking for Christmas. My family used to have Christmas at my great-grandma's house, and I colored it red, green, and black. They put me in counseling because of it. I colored black because my great-grandma kept the lights off in the rooms we weren't in, and they thought I was depressed. My mom and dad had to take off work and come get me to take me home because the school refused to let me go back to class when I was depressed. I was never depressed, and I never have been. Story 23. I had a student last year write, "I hate all of you," for every single question. This was the 6th grade English. Age, "I hate all of you." Grade, "I hate all of you." Favorite animal, "I hate all of you." Favorite book, "I hate all of you." And so on and so forth. This was a cry for attention from this kid to both mom and dad after said student found out his parents were divorcing the day after he and mom moved to the States. Kid was a military kid and had never been to the States. In his mind, any cry for attention would make mom and dad talk, thus would make them get back together. He progressively got worse through the year, and by Halloween, Mom had withdrawn him after he ran away from school and sat in the middle of the street in front of it. He hid in the bathroom during homeroom, waited for the hallways to clear, then ran out of a school like a bat out of hell. We only know this because one of the guidance counselors saw him and his homeroom teacher reported him missing. Since he was being homeschooled, school still had to keep tabs on him to ensure he was progressing along with his peers. School finds out he is still trying to carry out his plan of getting his parents back together. Dad then began threatening Mom for full custody when he came stateside due to her not being able to get Tommy to school. To be fair, the kid played Mom like a fiddle and ran the household like a tyrannical preteen king. Last we heard, he had run away from home in an effort for Mom and Dad to get back together. Cops found him a few hours later on a playground, and Dad sent him away to military school across the country. I hope that little dude is all right, even though he was a massive pain in the butt. This child is desperate for help. He needs someone to trust and talk to about his feelings. This sounds to me like an emergency situation before he does something dangerous to himself or others in order to get attention or get revenge on his parents. Click on one of the videos on the screen now, or Karen will sue you.